Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone is doing all right. Vergil Ortiz is back. He stops and dominates Michael Mckinson in the ninth round. Spirited effort from Mckinson, but ultimately he was definitely overmatched. He put up a gallant performance, I guess. He fought bravely, but he was just, there was just levels to this, and you could see that straight away. So let's talk about this fight. In the opening round, Mckinson came out. He had a game plan to a degree. I think he was trying to obviously impose himself a little bit and stick it on Ortiz a bit. And, I think ultimately it backfired a bit because it took a bit out of him, like he was like definitely looking like he was going to get stopped early. And, if he'd have refined that game plan a little bit, and came in and been aggressive and then pivoted out and kept moving and using his good range control and, like I said, spurts of aggression in spots, that could have worked, I think. Because, he's got this ability to sort of snake charm his way through rounds. Like snake charmers, they just like bedazzle the snakes. And all of a sudden, in terms of boxing, you could get to round 6, 7, and 8, and Ortiz is like, how the hell did we get here? But he took a lot of damage early, and ultimately, it was just a matter of time before Ortiz broke him down. So, in the end of the first round, you could have arguably given Mckinson that round. I think Chris Mannix did, to be fair. And I think, you could make a case for that, for sure. But then, actually Ortiz got a headbutt, accidental headbutt at the end of the first. That was always inevitable, wasn't it? With the southpaws and Mckinson's constant ability to step on the inside of Ortiz's feet, which creates, an even weirder situation. Although I'm not sure if that was that in that particular moment. Ortiz got a cut on his left eye. Didn't end up being too bad. And then it was just, just like Ortiz was just putting a lot of pressure on. He's a very, very good calculator. His pressure is very educated and calculated and relaxed. He steps his way in, and then, he needs to be in that range, to be fair. He's not the best at fighting outside of that range. So he was doing that, and Mckinson was getting caught up in some sort of exchanges on the inside. He was getting some body work. There was some really good body work being done by Ortiz, and Mckinson's legs looked a bit shaky. My theory was, I thought this was going to go 12 when I first made the video, but then I was like, as the week went on, I was thinking maybe I should do another video, because when you listen to the stats, and you're like, all right, we got the hardest puncher that's knocked out everybody in the sport. Maybe not the hardest puncher in the sport, but a very hard puncher who's knocked out everybody against somebody who couldn't crack an egg with his hands. With all due respect, listen, no disrespect. I'm very, very proud of Mckinson. I think he did well for himself. We'll talk about what these guys are going to do at the end of this video, but ultimately, he just didn't have the power to keep Ortiz off him. And if you're going to fight like that in spurts, you need to have a little bit of zap or a bit of zing to like make your mark, essentially. And but he did sort of bamboozle his way through those mid rounds, and he's excellent at. He started to be able to time Ortiz, and he was ducking down that right hand, slipping away. He's got some slickness about him. I don't want to call him a slick fighter, but he's got that awkward southpaw slickness where he's very alert. His hand-eye coordination is very good, and he's got good footwork. His footwork was not what I thought it was going to be, because I think he kind of went for it and took it out. He was, like I said, his game plan backfired a little bit, I think. But nonetheless, it showed that he was willing to win. He came there to win, and I think Ortiz boxed well, given, he had an awkward guy in front of him, and he dealt with Mckinson like nobody had done before. Nobody put that kind of hurting on Mckinson, and you would expect that. If they fought 100 times, I would expect 100 times Ortiz to win. But out of those 100, depending on Mckinson's game plan, you could make a case, think, all right, maybe this will go 12 if he boxed a bit more intelligently in spots. But Nonetheless, shout out to Outmatch Boxing. My brother, he got this bang on. So good for you, mate. And I think he said 9th round TKO. Yeah, so all right, let's talk about what these guys do now. McKinson going into the Lions Den fighting the top contender who's knocked out everybody, who's highly touted, and you're going in there and you're showing, no fear, because he obviously there was definitely a look of worry on his face pretty early on once he felt that power, but fought bravely, went in there to win, like I said, and I don't think his stock will be damaged. I really don't. I think, if anything, we know a bit more about him. We know that he's a very tough man and he can take a bit of punishment, and he's willing to win and let it hang out. I mean, he tried to. I know he definitely got very negative as the fight went on, but that was him spoiling as well. But I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be okay, and I think his stock will, if anything, maybe go up a fraction. Maybe. I mean, he didn't do himself, too bad, I think. In terms of Vergil Ortiz, now there's a lot of talks about what he's doing next. Bud Crawford was in the crowd. I knew he wasn't going to call him out like that, because I know he's a very respectful guy, Vergil Ortiz. I really have been quite an admirer of him for a while, and one of the reasons is because of his general attitude to the sport and respect to the sport and to the fighters. And in that situation, he understood that there was a big fight looming, and he's like, they got business to take care of. And I think he grew up with Spence as well, like in the gyms in Texas. I think they have some kind of not a relationship, but I think they know. I just think it would have been like stepping on Spence's toes if he was like, yeah, I'll fight you, and, forget Spence. Just very respectful guy. Said in the interview he was going to be in the gym the next day or going running. I love that. That is a seriously rare breed, which is one of the reasons I'm picking him to. I would pick him to beat Boots. On top of the fact that I know he's got a lot of heart, and he's been in a tough situation, and he's very poised. And Boots is the same with regards to being in the gym the next day. These guys they're going to be around a long time in the welterweight division, and it's going to be fantastic for us boxing fans. But sadly, when you think of those two and put them together, as the landscape unfolds, as fans, we're just like, well, probably not going to get that fight, are we? And that's really sad, just to, mate, I don't want to be too negative, but that's just the reality. We are unlikely to get that fight anytime soon. But what other fights are there for Ortiz? Now, you do have, I know people were mentioning Stanionis. That's an interesting one. That's for the WBA regular title. Even Butayev is a decent fight. Good challenge. I know Keith Thurman will probably not be wanting to fight Ortiz. He doesn't seem to really be wanting to do that much. Hopefully we can get an announcement for Keith Thurman and keep that welterweight name alive and get some more decent fights, because there's a lot of avoiding going on in the welterweight division, and it's frustrating. But glad to see both guys come out the ring healthy. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think McKinson, what about his stock? Do you think he fought bravely? He definitely fought bravely, but, will it affect it? I personally don't think so. Ortiz, 19 wins, 19 knockouts. His next step up will be a good fight. I hope they can make a really good fight with him and put him to the test again, because he's definitely ready for a world title shot, I think. So, anyway, we got another fight coming up. Usyk AJ2. I'm working on that video very soon. That should be out next week. I hope everyone has a lovely weekend. And take care of yourself. Boxing on the Edge.